I am Nick Hughes. I'm the founder and CEO of Founders Live, and this is Founders Live Conversations. This is where we talk with a variety of our winners of our Founders Live City events. And today we have Laketta Brooks of TraceWrap, who is one of our recent winners from Founders Live in Houston. Laketta, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so nice. We love these conversations. This is for a time for you to share your vision, share your experience. And first, let's just have you introduce yourself and really just bring us up to speed very quickly on, who you are.
All right, cool. So as you said, I'm Laketta Brooks. I am a Houston, Texas native. I was born and raised here. I actually left for the first time to go to the military, where I had my first experience in supply chain management. Came back to Houston, so this is where I've been. I have an extensive background, like I said, in supply chain, logistics, all things in that area pretty much. And currently I am a project manager. So all those things kind of led me to creating my solution that I have now, which is TraceWrap.
That's awesome. Well, hey, welcome to the conversation. And again, congratulations. And we're going to hear so much about TraceWrap and your vision. But, first, I'm always curious of, look, we're all talented here. You could go work for a large company. Why choose entrepreneurship? What is it about creating your own company and making impact in the world that drew you to do this?
Honestly, entrepreneurship has always kind of been embedded in me. Both my mom and dad were entrepreneurs, so I've seen it growing up as a kid. I've seen the tough times that they went through, but they stuck with it. So I always use my mom as an example. I wanted to be just like her. She's been an entrepreneur now well over 30 years. So she's my trusted advisor when I have issues with TraceWrap. So choosing entrepreneurship wasn't necessarily a choice for me, I'd like to say. It was more of like just a lifestyle at this point. I do think that corporate America is a way for some people in which that's where we all start, right? But that's not our end.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. I say it all the time. I mean, look, corporate America and just, an employee path for most people in the world is actually the path that they want to take, and it
Mhm.
seems like right. But hey, there's some like us that see the world differently. And for you, was it and again, we'll get to TraceWrap, but you know, is it about solving problems in the world? Is it about economic freedom and going and creating the wealth that you want? What what is it about entrepreneurship that really tugged at you?
Honestly, I think it's a combination of the two. I do like having the economical freedom, of course, but there are things that comes with that. Like I had no idea when I first started that I'd have to pay taxes on the money that I made. However, I think the largest portion is the ability to be able to solve a problem. So seeing the pain points that I had and my peers at the time, and there were no solutions that fit within what we needed. So being able to build a solution for that and help all of us is kind of what really drives me.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. There's everyone has their own reasons for being a founder and starting a company, and yet just the path of that, in some ways independence, the paving your own way.
Hmm.
There it's a roller coaster though. We talk about that, and it's there's the major benefits, the incredible opportunities, even in a theoretically a smaller exit can be life changing
Hmm.
financially for people, and that's obviously why there's a drive there. But that's also incredibly difficult. And we'll get to some of the lessons that you've experienced and learned over time. We'll get to that kind of at the end, but it is challenging. It's different, but you've chosen to pursue it, and it's so cool. Well, hey, let's talk about Founders Live Houston. So how did you find Founders Live, or how did it find you? And then we'll talk about your experience pitching.
Okay, yeah. So it actually found me. I was a part of a group here called Founders Institute. It's a cohort here in Houston, and I was ending that cohort. And Oleg actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've heard a lot about your solution, and some of the directors over at Founders Institute said they think you'd be a great fit. Here's information about it." So I kind of looked it up and saw that you guys do the live pitches, and I was intrigued.
Well, that's great. Hey, let's shout out Oleg. Actually, Oleg, I don't know if you know this. Oleg was our city leader for a number of years, and recently, very recently, right after the event, he has stepped down as the city leader, and then we are bringing in a new city leader right now in Houston, and then Oleg will be helping out, and we appreciate all of his time and effort. It was like a family thing, actually. So
Mm-hmm.
so we thank Oleg, and he's done such a great job leading there in Houston. So he reached out to you, let you know. And so, how did you initially prepare for this opportunity? This is a 99-second pitch, minute 39, and in front of, there was a lot of people. Actually, I know that there was quite a few people there in at Founders Live Houston. So you were like, okay, I got this live pitch. What were the process? How did you go about the process of preparing for this live 99-second pitch?
So I actually went on YouTube and watched a few of the ones that happened before. So they were not the Houston ones, but I just pretty much just watched and saw how they pitch, if they use the deck or not, how many slides in their deck they used, things of that nature. And so Oleg actually, right before the pitch, he called in. He's like, "Hey, this could be like an early I guess pitch practice, we would call it." And so I just brought in my slides that I already had, and he helped to pick out which slides that we needed, because 99 seconds comes very, very quickly. You only have about 2 to 3 seconds uh, to say whatever you need to per slide. So if it's longer than that, like, you're going to go over the minutes. It was so many moving parts to it. So we kind of just used that day to practice, um, finalize everything as far as decks and pitches. And then the next day was the live time. Now, I will say that I was unprepared because I did not expect as many people to show up as they did. So the jitters definitely set in.
I know that feeling, and this is why we do Founders Live, and this is why we have the pitch competition, is because look, there is stuff on the line for a Founders Live event. There's a winner and there's not winners,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a training ground, and it's an opportunity for founders, again, all around the world, but they're in Houston. It gives you an opportunity to have that test and have that experience, that there isn't millions of dollars on the line, because at some point with your business there will be,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be prepared for, you may or may not be in front of hundreds of people, but you'll probably be in front of a group of people, whether it's 1, 2, 5, 10, that will be determining if they're going to give you millions of dollars or actually be a customer in the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars level. And you need to be prepared. And so that's why the Founders Live pitch experience it can be nerve-wracking enough, but it helps you learn how to not only speak in publicly, but also how your pitch is resonating with that audience. And
Yes.
what was your kind of feedback in real time? Was there some pros and cons of your experience of, like, did you notice that you obviously won, so your pitch resonated with people, but what was your takeaway in the moment?
So, what really resonated with me, honestly, is how, no matter, like, even myself or the other founders, when we pitched, like, some of us kind of stumbled over our words a little bit due to nerves or whatever the situation was, but the crowd was still very encouraging. Like, you would hear a person here or there that says, "It's okay, keep going." And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you just kind of need that reassurance. But I think another thing that really, really stood out to me is with every business that, with every startup that pitched, even though we were in totally different industries, everyone, I realized being in the audience once I was watching them that sometimes it's easier to get your point across just by speaking simply and not using the large terms or the industry specific terms or being super technical, because you could easily lose the crowd. And being that my solution is very simple, I just speak simply, and I try to keep it to where a regular person from the street, I get pitched to them, they understand exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and I don't lose them right away.
Yeah, yeah, very good. I really wish I was in the room. For everyone there, I had some plans to travel to Houston, and actually, I would have been there in person to not only meet you in person and hear your pitch in the moment. Didn't work out timing wise, but sounds like you did very, very well. And congratulations again
Thank you.
for being the winner, and it's just exciting stuff. So let's actually shift into what is TraceWrap. And the best way that I like to ask this question to lead into what you're building is, what problem did you see in the world that you really wanted to fix?
Yeah, of course. So I like to give a brief background on why I started TraceWrap, and then you'll simply understand it that way. So previously, I owned a candle warehouse in which I did a lot of wholesale and private label candle orders for some of these larger brands. Well, I kept having the same issue of either the shipping carriers losing the entire pallet, or sometimes they just go off the face of the earth for a small period of time and then they just magically resurface. So I was looking for a solution that could help me stop that. At that time, I didn't really know what that looked like. All I knew is, hey, this is costing us money. It's ruining pretty much our bottom line, and I need to figure out a way to save my relationships with these companies and save money for our company. So randomly one day, I just thought like, hey, what if I could find like a GPS or something and put it on the pallets. That way I could see in real time where our products are. And I'm like, I'll just purchase air tags. And so I purchased all these air tags and I dropped them in pallets. And this was around Christmas time, which was one of our very busy seasons. And unbeknownst to me, air tags are not real GPS, they're Bluetooth. So as soon as they left our warehouse, I still lost all visibility and wasted even more money. So I actually started looking around for a solution that was real GPS, which at that time there were none. So I decided to create my own. So that leads me to what is TraceWrap. TraceWrap is a discrete GPS tracking label for packages and pallets. So the problem that we solve, this is the B2B solution in which we help companies track all their shipments, packages in real time.
That's really cool. And, thanks for the background. And it totally makes sense. It's like, where's our stuff? And, there's a lot of things, and we'll talk about the supply chain and just all the details in a second. But, it's kind of crazy that even in today's world that, like, there is a lot of shipping. There's things going around all around the world that companies don't know where their stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that seems to be not only in some ways a bit of an obvious problem / solution set, but it also seems to be a very large market and very large industry. And
Mm-hmm.
do you have any data? Can you speak on like how big this problem is? And obviously it seems like it's so big that you might be kind of narrowly, you could narrowly focus into a bit more of a niche. But talk to us a little bit about how vast this is of a challenge and a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So globally, this is a $14 billion problem. globally. However, as you said, we are niching down. So we kind of started focusing on one niche area, which is our industry, which was e-commerce fulfillment. Just last year, in our region alone, they reported over 140 million in losses.
Wow.
Right, which is huge. And I think the problem also goes it more into not just visibility, but asset tracking as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And what happens when there's a loss? I mean, meaning like, I was even reading today, like just, there's, I mean, every week and every month there's a new conflict and war, which is not great at all. But when you look at the shipping that's happening, especially in the Middle East, they're like talking about stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just like all of a sudden company, you have assets and you have, products somewhere, and all of a sudden it's like, where's our stuff? And this is such an issue that it's this is big time. And you're mentioning hundreds of millions of dollars of losses. I mean, is there insurance for that, or is it just like, well, we'll try to find your stuff, and sometimes it's just lost? It's just like you have to write that off.
Yeah, so it's actually a combination of all of those. So you either file insurance, which honestly, for me, after filing so many claims, then the insurance just start denying your claims because they're saying, hey, why is this happening so often to you? So then it slips into, okay, I just have to eat that loss and write it off at the end of the year. So for businesses, there are so many solutions out there protect the customer. There's none that protects the business, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And you'll see this question right here is like, why is the supply chain globally so stressed and challenged right now? And one thing that I'm seeing is it just, and Founders Live, we're a global ecosystem. We
Mm-hmm.
reach all around the world. We hear from startups, not just Houston, but I mean Pakistan, and we actually have Islamabad, Pakistan event tomorrow. This is in late June, and we have events in South Korea. We have events in Africa, South America. So we're global, right? But we're mostly digital, and we're not sending products and stuff around the world. But when you look at how the world is tightening up, it's there's protectionism happening, nationalism happening all over the world,
Right.
and that is stressing the supply chain. That when you look at the globalization of manufacturing and delivering of products, it's tremendously stressed. What are you seeing on your end, or what's bubbling up that you're looking to fix over time with TraceWrap?
So supply chain is just one of those industries where there's so many moving parts to where you just realistically speaking cannot fix every single part. Once you fix one part, you shine light on another part that needs fixing. So it's just one of those issues that will never go away. The problems will never go away. And supply chain is just it's so huge, everything that goes into it. Like, you have logistics, and then you have offshore, onshore. There's so many moving parts to it. However, the one thing that we're aiming to do is bring in accountability back. When you're shipping anything, whether it's by road, plane, there's so many different hands that your products are touching, right? So at what point is somebody going to take accountability and say, okay, I dropped the ball here? No one is going to do that, right? So that's why our labels being discreet and they're one-time use, so we don't have to worry about reverse logistics. Our labels are pinpointing who is dropping the ball and exactly where your things are. So they can always either be retrieved, or you can now prove to these insurance companies, hey, it was supposed to be at point A. It's showing everywhere else but point A. So a faster payout is another solution that we're aiming to kill with the same stone.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And you mentioned it's supply chain. Like it's not. I mean, it's complex, and it's not going to be getting better. It's the way that the world seems to be moving now is going to be tighter borders, more isolation.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? I mean, countries are kind of doing this, and you're seeing, with the mandate of U.S., it's like U.S. manufacturing. We need to do everything within our borders. Now, I think not only is that easier said than done, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily believe that that's actually going to happen over time,
Right.
but what we are seeing is there's a tightening of this, and so it just means that with globalization and the global supply chain, it's only more problems are going to arise, and so a lot of problems to solve, which is probably exciting
Yeah.
for you all.
Well, what
Leads
I'm
to,
seeing, oh,
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. No,
What
go
I'm
ahead.
seeing with a lot of these brands, because as I said, I still have peers who are working in the e-commerce areas. What I'm seeing is that they're finding local places to procure from now, just to prepare for the globalization part of it. Like everything is just unknown at this point.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, which leads to, hey, let's talk about where do you see 5 to 10 years out. Let's go with like a 10-year vision. What do you really want to build and the impact around the world?
Well, I can't really speak to my 10-year vision because I am aiming to be acquired within 5 years.
Ah, well, I like that. Well, let's reframe this question, and let's go
Okay.
out. 5 years. You aim to
Okay.
have a strategic acquisition and all that. What does that look like? What does the brand TraceWrap really represent 5 years out as you plan on having that merging acquisition?
So you said, what is the brand of TraceWrap?
Well, yeah. What do you want to build?
Okay. So honestly, I want to build a solution that not only just eliminates package theft or shipment theft. I want to build something that just kind of deters those thieves altogether because they don't know what has our solution on it or what does. So that's our ultimate goal. We want to be that solution that does that. We also want to be the solution for businesses to know exactly where their things are. That's the major problem, and we want to tackle that. So we always refer to ourselves as the crystal ball that helps you find your things, right?
Yeah.
So we want to build a company who does exactly that.
Well, what's so interesting is earlier you mentioned AirTags.
Mm-hmm.
Great, and yes, that's an Apple product, and in some ways, where a lot of people are aware of those. Like, I'm a user of
Mm-hmm.
AirTags, especially as I travel around. You put those in your luggage, you have at least of a peace of mind.
Right.
And so I understand from that use to, you just carry that out into a logistics aspect for products around the world. I mean, the industry better than I do, but there is not an AirTag branded company, basically meaning they like who has the AirTags for your industry. And if like, can you answer that? Like, is there a
Yeah.
company that's like, oh, these are like, because I don't know, and not to say that I should, but there is not that brand name AirTag. Is there a company that has a little more of a space in this?
Yeah, so it's not the AirTag per se, but it's Samsara. So everyone knows of Samsara because they have literally taken over the logistics industry. So they provide these. I don't even know what to call it, but they're pretty bulky. They're the size of like a hockey puck, and they go inside of like 18 wheelers. They hook up to like the batteries, and that's how they track their trucks. They
Yeah.
also provide like dash cams for the truckers where they can see both outside and inside the truck, speed odometers, you name it. So they are considered the air tags for logistics.
I see. And
Yeah.
then maybe describe a little bit of how you want to see. You mentioned that 5 years down the road, whether they're the acquire or someone else, where does your product kind of fit into that mold? Because it feels like it's much more dynamic, smaller, and a little more intelligent. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, right? So Samsara is one of those companies that we are researching to possibly be acquired by in the future. And one thing that really sets us apart is they track the drivers, they track the trucks, but there is not a solution that tracks what matters the most, which is the actual product or the actual part. We don't really care where the truck is. We don't care where the driver is. We want to know where our things are. And so our innovation is much different because we could actually take that and slap it onto, let's say, if it's an airplane wing, we could slap it onto that. It sticks adhesive. It's discreet. No one ever knows that the GPS is inside of what looks like a shipping label. So I think that we would fit perfectly into their product line.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here. And, it's very good. And I, just the smaller minutization of that and having it be something that works, I think you said it perfectly, which is, look, we don't care where the truck is or whatever. We care about where the product is. Mm-hmm. And that is the requirement is some sort of tracking device needs to be small enough and useful enough, mm-hmm. agile enough to be able to work with all these products. Most of the time they're on pallets and whatnot. So interesting. As you can see there, TraceWrapUSA.com if you want to learn more. So interesting. Before we go, love to always ask, if you could identify, we'll get to lessons in a second, kind of more general, but what has been your biggest challenge as an early stage startup at this moment in time?
I'd probably say, obviously, capital. As every other startup, I've been bootstrapping to this point, so I'm looking for funding here soon. The other biggest challenge I think I have is building a trustworthy team. Obviously, as you know, your team is what makes or break your company and your solution. So just looking for other, co-founders or a founding team that understands the vision, we mesh well, and just going from there, like just making sure we're all cohesive.
Yeah. Team is so important. And, I think, yeah, what I would share with that is, it is, I'm not going to look, I grew Founders Live. I was a sole founder, the one founder, and we have a small team now. By the way, benefits of small team is actually incredible. And, we're quite agile and we want to add more team members over time. But, we've built things around the world with a not huge team, and that's fine and great. But I share your thought on like finding the right people and onboarding the aligned people, the trustworthy people that you can, kind of run this race with. And not everyone is a fit for you all. And by the way, for everyone listening and watching, most everyone is not a fit for you. And right. So the challenge is finding that, whether it's still the founding team or, your early team, that are correct and good fits for the skills and expertise, but also interpersonal team dynamics, they're a good fit. So, I know it well, and we've had some people come in that weren't great fits, and it's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. And so, well, kind of shifting into, if you could go back, a few years, your earlier self, or if you were going to speak to a founder here that is just getting started, that you could share some, maybe two significant things. You've obviously learned a ton more. What would you share with your earlier self?
I'd probably say I'll start with lessons learned. I think the biggest lesson I learned is everybody isn't out to steal your idea. So I had this I'm laughing because it seems so silly now, but when I first thought of my idea, I literally had it under lock and key. I didn't want to speak to anybody about it because I was so afraid someone with more resources and more money was going to take my idea and run with it. And I'll see it on like TV one day. So I learned really quickly that just as hard as it is for you to build, it will be hard for the next person to build. And that's not to say somebody still won't come and do it, but there's things that you can do to protect yourself beforehand. And don't worry, just don't worry. Okay. My next biggest lesson learned, I'd probably say, is building a community early. So prior to becoming a founder, I'd say I've been a business owner before, but prior to becoming a founder, I didn't necessarily know the significance of building a community. And it has gotten us so far to date, not only just a community, but just, advisors and unofficial advisors, I'll say, other founders who've been through the space, literally someone you could just call and say, hey, I just need your ear. And those who are following our journey, like it's huge. And it's been pivotal for TraceWrap.
Yeah. Both of those are very well said and, very significant, advice and just lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
And, just to add a little, color to what you said, again, this is why we created Founders Live. So you can talk about what you're building, why, and get that feedback and get that momentum going. And for people that think that, they need they're nervous, like we've heard this before where it's like, well, I mean, if I'm pitching, like I need everyone to sign an NDA. It's like, no. If you're not ready to talk about what you're building, then don't participate in Founders Live or any other kind of pitch experience. But the moment, and by the way, it should be early, that you're ready to put your thoughts and your message out to the world, what happens is you get feedback, and the feedback loop becomes quicker and quicker. And not only is it
almost immediately,
which is what we want as founders, so that we can correct the things that we're not really correctly aligned with, or, as the market continues to move, you just need to share your vision and obviously be smart about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was great. Then the second one is community, and these almost go together, but, building that community and, having people, organizations, and the greater, really the greater community, understand your value. And what happens is they push it forward as well, because they want to see it succeed. And so that's the benefit of the community, is when they see that value, they maybe inherently get value out of it. They're going to move you forward. And so these are very, very important. So good job. Very good. All right. Well, again, everyone, check out TraceWrapUSA.com. It's so great. And I guess one last thing is, what are you looking? You mentioned, access to capital and all that. What are you looking for? What can people help you with if they're watching here?
Yeah, so we're in the pilot stage, the proof of concept stage in our startup. So what we're doing is piloting companies to kind of stress test our labels before we actually go to market. So if you or someone that are in these spaces that could use our product and are having these issues, I'd love for you guys to reach out to us.
Perfect. And is the best way if they go to the website and then there's probably a contact page or whatever?
Yes, either that or email me directly. So it's Laketta, Laketta, at TraceWrapUSA.com. Or you could just simply go to TraceWrapUSA.com and there is a contact form on there.
Perfect. Well, Laketta, great job. Congratulations again. And your vision of finding things around the world is powerful, and I'm excited to see your future.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Well, everyone, this is Founders Live Conversations. Thank you for watching, listening. Keep checking things out. We continually talk with a lot of our founders around the world. And until next time, enjoy and stay safe.